to the Reset for Success from Mackay Tourism Business Recovery. Thanks to Chrissy and everyone in my region for this opportunity to be able to present to you all today. My name is Judy, I'm from Shift. For those of you who joined us last week, we discussed what you could be doing with your business to kickstart you and make some positive change so you're ready out the other end when we're ready to get going again. I brought with me Gus Walsdorf, my business partner with Shift, and he's everything finance. So what we're going to be discussing today is financial first aid. So this is primarily, so you all know your report, for people who are feeling financially overwhelmed at the moment. So for quite a few business owners, you might be looking at week to week. So Gus is going to discuss things you could be doing right now. It's really Finance 101. So for those of you who are further down the track and looking for more strategic stuff, that webinar is going to be taking place next week on the 12th, I think. So I'm going to hand it over to Gus to introduce himself.
Thank you very much, Judy. Thank you for tourism and thank you for everybody out there taking the time to join us today. Very privileged. A little bit about myself. I'm a chartered accountant by trade, but really my passion is travel. I've been very fortunate to travel over 80 countries with my wife in the last 10 years. That's really where our tourism connection and dream was born, and now it's aligned with my finance skills. So hopefully I can help those tourism, accommodation and other businesses in the Mackay and Whitsunday region out there today.
Okay, and I'm going to jump in right then because I know you find it really hard to sell yourself. But for those of you listening today, I'd like to know a little bit more about Gus and why we should listen to him. So please deep dive into a bit more about your background, commercially finance.
Sure. Okay, so commercially, my wife and I have got two tourism businesses. We've worked in the early stage startup area. We've got startups before. We've been in small business, large business, city business, rural business, a whole smattering of different areas and skills. So hopefully I can connect with each of you out there today.
Excellent. And I think also you are a rural farmer.
Also a farm here for those farmers out there. Big shout out.
Okay, lovely. So what we're going to be discussing today, COVID-19 changed the world of commerce overnight, dramatically. Literally overnight, some of us shut our doors and trade ceased for us. So for many, the focus is on maintaining right now any equipment until trade resumes. So this is about putting our head above water to see what it looks like out the other end. Of course, we've been involved in quite a few webinars with QT, TEQ and other large organisations. See what that looks like out the other end, which I'm sure you've all been a part of as well. But what we're going to talk about today, the financial first aid backbone of what we're going to be going through today, is about managed debtors and creditors, building rapport. I know that sounds a little bit weird, but we have to build a relationship with these people, make sure we're taking away the stress, making sure we're the first ones to get paid. I think Gus is going to delve a little bit into debt collection. It's nasty work, so he's going to talk through what that looks like and when we should be doing that. And then how do you dig? There's a lot of stimulus packages out there and a lot of support from government, and which ones should we access, which ones should we? And then lastly, business plans and budgets. Just going to revisit that again. So I'm going to hand it again over to Gus with managing debtors.
Thank you, Judy. And I forgot to mention something. If people have got comments or questions, please send them in Q&A sidebar webinar, because we want to help you get as much out of the session as possible. So please ask any questions. Don't be shy, don't be afraid. All right, on to managing debtors. So everyone understands debtors. They're your customers that owe you money, all customers. Now, some of those customers may be struggling with COVID-19 outcomes and struggling financially. What we're suggesting is communication is the key for those people that owe you money. It's reaching out to those businesses and understanding their situation, having that clear line of communication about where they stand. Have they been severely affected, or is the business moving along quite nicely? And if they're struggling, you know, are they going to be in a position to be able to pay you now, in a month's time, in 6 months' time? Not at all. Or they put their head in the sand. Where are they? I think a beautiful outcome would be to be able to have a mutually agreed payment plan if they're struggling, and then have a dialogue each week. You know, where the plan's coming along well, payments are rolling in, you know, doing it over 5 or 10 weeks or 5 or 10 months, and things are moving along. Everyone's happy. Everyone understands the situation. And I suppose the final point there is that us, you know, we pay people that we like. You know,
Yes, we do.
I'm a business owner, and I really don't like that person, or that they haven't shown any commitment or interest in my business or helping me.
Or they've just been downright.
Yeah, all rude in this day and age. Absolutely. So think about it that way. You know, who are they going to pay first? If you're nice to them, if you're helping them build some rapport, you're going to be front of mind when it comes to paying out that scarce money.
Yeah. And then I just want to talk a little bit about mutually agreed upon payment plan. How do we get one of those? Like, it's very nice to say, but how do we get them to mutually agree upon something?
Sure. There's no exact formula for this. It's about a discussion. It's a negotiation between the two parties. It's about understanding each other and saying, you know, I'm struggling or I can't help, and this is going to be I want to continue to be a customer. This is going to be a process over 6 months or 12 months, and just have an agreement via email or even a telephone conversation. Ideally, an email where it's written down, but you know, none of this is enforceable. But it's just a good guide, and you know, put it in the calendar, tell your accounts payable, just make sure that everyone's on the same page on the terms.
So I suppose it's about making it realistic. Really. Ideally, all of us would like to get it paid straight away, but we're probably not going to. So what is a viable option for both of you? And I suppose what you're saying is we really need to understand their story and their journey so that we can make the payment plan realistic.
Absolutely, Judy. It's all back to understanding their situation. Don't just think about yourself in this time. Think about others, about what industry you're in. Think about, you know, other pressing matters. If they've got other payments that you should prioritise so they can keep their business open and then pay you. Don't jump up and down. You know, if their business is closed, you may get $0. It's better to wait 6 months to receive your dollars. So just, yeah, think about their situation, have some empathy, and come to terms.
Oh, yep. So I suppose when we talk about building rapport, what we're really talking about is empathy and building that relationship where we fully understand their journey, they're understanding ours, and we're stepping in rather than building that armour up, just reacting defensively the whole time. Yeah.
Correct, Judy. That's it.
Okay.
Work together. Be nice people. Be friends to each other.
Good to see some people on the little chat line there. Someone just posted that there is echo on the mic. Has it improved at all? If you could just give us a little hands up whether it's getting better or not. We're working on improving that at the moment. Until then, we'll move on to managing debtors, communicating nicely. What happens when there is no response? So what happens, Gus, when we are communicating with the debtors, but they are refusing to take any calls, they're not getting back to us, there is absolute silence, and they've got their business hand. What do we do then?
I think you find this is going to be quite common at this time of the world, and there will no doubt be people that are not communicating for one reason or another. Some people will not want to, some people will want to get away from it, some people have it buried in the sand. I think to answer your question, again, it comes back to communication. Send them a nice email, leave them a voice message, reach out to them, and come across in a sympathetic way, again, to understand their situation, and make proper suggestions, just as we talked about, taking into a payment plan, of what situation can we help you out, and then, as we say here on the slide there, have you grants, funds, subsidies, what's possible for your business. So then they help themselves, they can help you, is the key here. And then to go one step further, have they, if you can bring them to the table, you suggest things like contacting the banks, looking at loans, things that you've done or been proactive in your business doing. Can you help them get across that line or across that cash flow crunch to then be able to pay you?
Okay, did we want to delve into a little bit more about subsidies, grants, funding, banks,
Sure.
loans, commercial agreements, stuff like that?
Absolutely. I hope everyone out there who's got a loan pre-COVID has reached out to that bank or that loan provider. At this stage, banks are under a government mandate to help out small, medium businesses, provide cash flow loans. There's some interest-free loans, deferred loans, many options out there. And there's a real wealth of information on government websites and through government bodies.
Which ones would you recommend?
Look, there's business.queensland.gov.au and Australian Tax Office. They're probably two biggest government departments, and they really lay out a lot of information in a simplistic manner of all that's available. There's decision trees on those websites. Plug in how many employees, what's your turnover, what industry are you in, and it'll drop out with what's available to you and where to go for it. So I think get proactive is the key takeaway here. Yep.
Okay, so I suppose hopefully what this is doing is stepping out a nice little action plan here. For most of us, it is so overwhelming. And when we're in a small family business and we're busy doing the doing ourselves, just having so much in our heads can be so overwhelming that we can't think straight. So what I'm getting from what Gus is saying is a nice step plan here of how we start actioning these problems that can lower our anxieties as well. And at the same time, we're building those relationships. So when we pop out the other end, and hopefully we're all going to pop out quite healthy at the other end, we've built some really good relationships along the way. Okie dokie, we're going to hit debt collection.
Debt collection. It's a dirty term for most people out there. It conjures up images of a big scary man at the door with a baseball bat, but the reality is that debt collection it's a means to an end, and it's definitely an option that should be considered for all parties out there. If you've exhausted your communication with your debtors, then debt collection is definitely feasible. As we say, 80 cents in a dollar is better than zero. So
what do you mean when you say that 80 cents in a dollar is better than zero?
So for those who haven't used debt collection before, what you do is you sell your debt or your customer's obligations to a third party, and they will give you 80% of the value that's written on the invoice, and then they'll go and try and collect it themselves, and they make their money out of that 20% that you've given away. So they do a lot of legwork, so it can be a win-win situation. The problem is that these people that the debt collectors are contacting are your customers, and in an ideal world, you want to keep that strong relationship with your customers, and you want your customers to keep coming back to your business. So it's a fine line between, I suppose, getting debt collectors in and maintaining that relationship, because what debt collectors do is they send letters, and these letters progressively get more nasty over time. They make a number of phone calls, and it can be really distressing and off-putting for your customers. So it's not a decision that you should take lightly.
Okay, so I see that you've made a recommendation there. And is this someone that you've used before, or why did you put that recommendation?
So this is a startup company, no way associated, by the way. It's called Indebted. They're an Australian-based company, and they take the debt collection approach with more empathy, similar to what we've just spoken about. They take a more new age approach where they contact businesses via WhatsApp and Facebook and newer forms of communication, opposed to the old nasty letter in the mailbox. So it's about looking after your customers, as we just discussed. So please reach out to them.
Yeah, or any other company that you get referred to as well. Like, we've just put this up as an example, basically, from the last webinar. We didn't write down the recommendations that we had that we've used in the past. So what we thought we'd do with this webinar is just write down a few suggestions so that you had time to scribble them down yourselves. So basically all we're doing is recommending any kind of debt collection service which uses that empathic approach and doesn't damage the relationship that you've already got with your very valued clients and customers. Anything else you want to discuss about debt collection?
No, that's it. Hopefully you never have to go down that route, but the reality is you may in this financial crisis.
So it's just a bit of information in case you do have to go down there. Okay, now we're going to move on to the other ugly stepsister, which is bankruptcy and insolvency. So what does happen if your suppliers cease to exist?
Okay, so hopefully you'll never have to go through this either, but the reality is that in these times, there's a good probability that a lot of businesses will be touched in some way. And I know for tourism operators out there, there's Website Travel or Adventium, Virgin Holidays. I know there's a lot of people in the Whitsundays have been affected by those two businesses. So what happens is a company there's a number of ways. They go into liquidation or administration or bankruptcy. There's a whole myriad of terms, insolvency. They all mean slightly different things, but I think the key takeaway here for small businesses, you should be contacted. If that company owes you money, you should be contacted to claim your right to that money. So what that means is you're essentially informing the organisation that's handling the situation that you're owed money, and then if there's money made available, then you're entitled to X amount. So you might have heard, again, I used the expression before, cents in the dollar. You know, the assets of the business may be sold and you may get 10 cents in the dollar. So if you're owed $100, you might get your $10 when the business is wound up or closed down. So I suppose it's just making sure that you register your interest so you are entitled to all or some of the money that you're owed in that first instance. And if you see a company, say you're owed money and you know that business is in trouble and has gone bankrupt and you haven't been contacted, then what you should do is check the ASIC register, and there's a list there of companies that have moved into liquidation, insolvency, bankruptcy, and there's details there of who to contact to stake a claim on your outstanding money. So just be aware, rather than just burying your head in the sand, you may be able to get some or all of your money back if a company goes under.
10 cents in the dollar is better than nothing.
Correct.
Okay, so we're going to talk about managing creditors. Okay,
so creditors. These are the people that you owe money to. So the shoe is on the other foot now, and we're saying that communication again is the key here, and it's reaching out to those people that you owe money to and letting them know what your situation is. Right now, you know, you may have 10, 20, 30, 40 people that you owe money to, varying amounts, and I think it's a positive thing to reach out and say, hey, we know that we owe you money. We're going to get the money, or we're not going to get the money, or what does the situation look like? So then if that company who you owe money to doesn't hear from you, the risk is that they will put the debt collectors onto you.
Not nice.
Not nice at all. Really bad taste in everyone's mouth. And ultimately, there may be a liquidation event. The rules have changed slightly over the next 6 months, thanks to the government, but there is a very real possibility that, you know, the liquidators can be sent in. So when we say liquidation, that means that people are trying to recover the money that are owed to them, and they're going to close your business down to try and recover that money. So again, somewhere where you don't want to be. As we touched on earlier, please exhaust all your options right now. There's so many grants, packages, subsidies, rent reliefs, banks, state government, local government, federal government. Please look at all options. And if you're not sure where to start, please contact us or contact someone else in your trusted network and get an idea of where these possibilities are so you can move forward and understand your situation.
Lovely. Okay, so now I want to take us back to the first point, because I think this is the hardest one for a lot of us. You know, we can be overwhelmed with how much we do owe, where do we start, and really by reaching out, am I going to cop a barrage of abuse? What am I going to cop from the other end? Now, I know that you've been in this industry for a long time. Yes, he's young and he doesn't look like it. However, he has been in the industry a long time. What would you be expecting at the other end? If I owe you a lot of money, what is the phone call that you're expecting from me that's going to stop you from giving me a mouthful? What do you need me to say?
You, at the other end, it's having, again, it's that empathy, and it's the thank you for reaching out, and thank you for, you know, being a customer, because you've bought goods from them, so they, on the other end, they want you to keep buying from them into the future. So it's not just a one-way street. It's maintaining that relationship, because they're going to want you to pay, obviously, and they're going to want you to keep buying their services or their goods in the future. So you shouldn't get a barrage on the other end. If you are getting a barrage, maybe you're dealing with the wrong people.
Yeah, true.
There's always going to be people out there like that, but someone rang me up and said, this is the situation, you know, the world's in a difficult place. Let's get through it together. Do we need a payment plan? And just understanding each other. Who knows? They may be in a strong situation. They may not need to be paid.
That'd be lovely.
That's it. They may be booming. They may be selling masks to hospitals.
True.
And they're okay. Just pay us in 6 months. That's fine. So, again, understanding their situation and remembering that you're their customer.
Yeah. I would also add to that, we deal a lot with conflict mediation and management in this company, and take the threat off the table. If you lead with the end goal at the start, my goal is to ensure that you are paid, that takes that threat off the table and opens their ears up to what you've got to say. So start your conversation with the end goal as the very first thing you say. Hi, I'm so-and-so reaching out. I understand I owe you money. My goal today is to get you paid. This conversation is about how we're going to do that, what terms they are, what's the payment plan that works for both of us. So lead with the end in sight is probably how I would recommend as well.
Very, very good point, Judy.
Okie dokie. Okay, let's deep dive into the next one, which is if you're struggling for cash flow and looking to prioritise which debts to be paid. What do we do here, Gus, please?
Okay, so this is getting down into the science a little bit. We're in a lot of, everyone's got money coming in and money coming out. You're owed money, you owe money to people. So I think a very basic exercise, I mean, you can do this as fancy or as basic as you like, is just listing who you owe money to and who owes you money. And then getting an idea of which one of those individuals are critical to your business, and try and order who you're going to pay first, or are you going to pay them in increments? What's going to be the best for your business? Because if you're not paying, if you're not paying rent and you're going to be out on the street tomorrow, well, that's going to be very detrimental to your business. But if you don't pay your rent on your whiz-bang coffee machine that's $1,000 a month in the tea room, well, the business will keep going. So it's really about prioritising, I suppose, one, what's critical to business, and then second thing to have in mind is, are you being chased hard with debts? Have you got outstanding debts? Do you owe cancelled rates that are 3 months in arrears, and they're going to sell your building? So obviously they're going to need attention first. So look at what's critical to your business, but also what are there immediate demands that can that aren't actioned are going to be seriously detrimental to your business.
Also, can I just suggest anyone that you've got any questions while we're having a chat about this, please just post them in that little chat column to the side there. Gus is open for any questions at the end of this or any of the way through. So please post any of the problems that you're experiencing right now and see if we can get Gus to help you out.
Absolutely.
Okay, so I probably want to go back to prioritising can seem quite simple. What if, again, and I'm talking about the stress levels that we're under at the moment and how elevated we can feel, and it just feels overwhelming. What's your recommendation for stepping through, apart from the obvious of rent and things like that?
Sure.
How do we prioritise those other things? And probably what's the process that we go through? If I've got all this in my head, how should I get it out and give myself a stepped process to look at who I'm going to start paying first?
Sure. So hopefully most of you will be using some kind of accounting software, and you'll be able to see your lists immediately on who is owed money, who owes you money, and if you can extract that. If you don't have that, I suggest a simple Excel, or even down to writing it down on a piece of paper. There's no right or wrong science here. Hopefully people don't have 50 debtors or creditors and you're dealing with a smaller pool of money as a SME. And really it's after those phone calls is the key here, understanding their situation, going through one by one and just knowing all your suppliers or all your debtors and where they sit. Then after having that conversation, then you can get a feel for who you want to pay first or who you need to pay first. There's no exact. You might put them into blocks. You might be able to say, okay, I want to pay this group next week, this group next month, this group in 3 months, or I'm going to pay 10% now and then step it up over time. So I think it comes back to, again, understanding their situation and the gravity of the situation on a case-by-case basis, really drilling down and understanding each on a case-by-case basis.
I'd probably also add, as we were talking about before, some people are highly emotive. A lot of us are at the moment, because when we've got financial problems, we get very emotional and very reactive about this. Don't prioritise someone further up that list just because they're being abusive and you want to get them out of your hair. Some people are trying that tactic. The more abusive I can be, the quicker I'm going to get paid. Don't let that happen to you. Put those people back down where they are on your priority list. So this is about building a sustainable outcome for you that's going to work, rather than being reactive and getting rid of people that are causing further grief for you.
Exactly. The squeaky wheel gets the oil is the term there. So don't listen to the squeaky wheel.
Yeah. Okay, we're going to move on to minimal viable operating costs. So I know myself, when the shit first hit the fan, quite quickly the government announced that we could get 100k loans for 0 interest.
Yep.
All sounds extremely attractive. Can you just walk us through the process of deciding whether people should get one or not? Because to me, we're sinking ourselves further into debt. What would be your criteria for looking whether you should go ahead with one of these?
Sure, it's a very valid point, Judy. Of course, don't take on debt if you don't have to. Just because there's interest-free loans available, it doesn't mean you need to rush out and get one. And the reality is that a lot of these loans are deferred, as in it may be, I know one of the loans is the first 6 months is interest-free, but over the 3-year term of the loan, you still pay the same amount of interest and principal. So don't be fooled into thinking there's free money occurring in these loans. It will still be there in the future. So to boil it down, don't take a loan if you don't need to. So that brings on to the next point about assessing where your business is now and what are your outgoings. And I think a good exercise here is, what is the absolute minimum that your business can operate on to stay open? What are those fixed costs that can't go away and that you're going to require to keep operating? So for instance, you might have rent, you might have a domain name, telephone, vehicle registration, the real critical things to your business. What is the cost of that per month? And I suggest everyone does an exercise to understand what is their absolute minimal viable operating costs per month. So then you've got in your head, okay, it's going to cost me $10,000 to keep operating keep the doors open per month, and I've got $100,000 in the bank, so I know I'm going to be able to go around for 10 months self-sufficient and not have to get a loan. Or if I've only got 50 in the bank, I know I can go for 5 months, and then I'll go and assess the option of getting a loan to help me get through until things are back to normal. So when you're speaking to banks or going for loans, having that number in your head, what it's costing you to keep your business alive and operating, is really critical, and really a sensible way to look at your business now as well. Just to know your numbers is the key.
Okay, cool. So we've just had a question come through. Someone's posted, my lessee wants me to waive 3 months rent prior to lockdown, saying if I don't, she will go into liquidation. Should I agree, as I think she is using the situation? What do you recommend?
It's a tough one, and there's many, many people in this exact situation. What I would say is follow the government directives on this and go down point by point on the government recommendations in these negotiations. Each situation is going to be different. They may be using the situation. We don't know. And I think what we spoke about earlier, it's about having that clear, open line of communication. If they are struggling, I'm assuming this is a commercial lease, commercial lease, then you have financial numbers, you have financial reports, you can prove how the business is operating, and then everyone can make an informed decision. So I think it's about having that round table, and that's what Mr. Morrison and the government have suggested for commercial real estate, is having both parties have a little bit of pain. And I think to answer your question, it's information is the key here. All the information on both sides needs to be on the table and discussed to get a good outcome for both parties.
Okay. You were saying at the start, follow the government recommendations. Do you know what they are, or do you know where people should go to find those?
So this is on the business.queensland.gov.au site.
That just rolls off your tongue, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's very exciting. I am an accountant, Judy. They list all the benefits and subsidies and commercial negotiations for leases, and just all the documents you need to know in one place. It's actually very extensive. It's not a sexy website, but everything is there in a easy to follow and click through manner. And in addition, I would say, this is for your own research, if you really are struggling, there is organisations out there like the small business financial counsellors. You might know them as the rural financial counsellors that operate throughout Queensland, and they're a free service that they were created to, in the first instance, help fishermen and agricultural enterprises that were in trouble, and now it's been funded into the mainstream. So I know there's a small business financial counsellor in Mackay, and their sole role is to help businesses that are struggling and badly struggling work their way through options and debts and how to get out of it. And secondly, speak to your trusted advisors. I mean, if you've got a good relationship with your accountant or your lawyer or a financial planner or a financial advisor, reach out to them. Don't put your head in the sand. This is not the time to put your head in the sand. This is the time to get out there and understand, be on the ball, know what's happening, and try and get the best outcome for yourself.
Excellent. Okay, we're going to move on and touch base quickly about revisiting financial and business plans. I know a lot of small businesses and family businesses do not have time to keep going back to this document, because I'm sorry, but it's batshit boring. It's nothing sexy about a business plan. I know it might be to you, but most of us don't feel that way. So what can you recommend here? And what about for people who actually don't have one? What's the benefit in having one?
I agree, Judy. It's a painful process. Ideally, every business would have an amazing financial forecast and business plan, but it's not the reality. I suppose I'm building on my earlier comments about understanding where your debtors and creditors are, what your minimal viable costs are. I'd hope that most people have some kind of financial budget. Even if that budget's in their head, they might know, what they're expecting to do in revenue this year, or how many clients they're going to have. And so to that point, it would be about just putting that down on paper or in an Excel, or getting a template off the internet, or we can send one to you after this, just plugging in some of your numbers. So I know revenue is very much up in the air, but at least do it for the costs, and then maybe a bit of a what if analysis. If we're back in normal times in 6 months, this will be my revenue. If we're back in normal times in 12 months, this will be my revenue. So you can kind of have a bit of a plan as to what your financial situation will be for each scenario. And then that comes onto the business plan. So finances are just part of your business plan. Business plan really comes back to your model. Now, some businesses out there, maybe a lot of businesses, are going to change forever after this event, especially in tourism. So are people thinking about what their core product or service is, and will it look different, or could it look different? And then a business plan of some description on what that new normal, or what our new service or product is, to help thinking about what that could be, or what is my business going to look like in 12 months. Business plans are all about goal setting and looking in 1, 3, 5, 10 years from now. So I know it's very difficult right now, and it's hard to see through the clouds, but if you can start thinking about your services and products, what it might look like for your business, and try and put some ideas and a little bit of a plan around that, I think, and even add in the what if analysis, these are what my business could look like in 1, 3, 5 years time. Then it really helps you when the opportunities come, or when the wheel turns and we get past this, then you're ready to go. You're not, oh, I've got to find my feet now and take off. So again, it comes back to being a little bit forward thinking and proactive, and this is about formularising it on paper.
So I've had quite a few people say to me over the years that business plans, they feel like they're locked in, they're not realistic, because things change from month to month, year to year. So a business plan makes them feel like they're building this thing that's not realistic. So first, I'll get you to talk on that. Secondly, I was just going to say, in regards to finance and business plans, the actual process of going through it is going to start that creative brainstorming again, and help you think of things that you may not even thought of before. So it might be a little deviation from your core product. It might be a way that you could save money, but going through that process, I think, is always well worth the time. But if you can talk a little bit more about feeling locked into a plan, and how do you keep your business plan and finance plan being so fluid enough that you feel like it's working with you?
Absolutely. The key to that point is actually having a plan, because if you've got no plan, you're not going to succeed, full stop. So to Judy's point, and it's a little bit about the what if analysis that I talked about earlier, it's good to have a strict plan, but in an ideal world, you'd visit it every month or quarter or year, and you tweak it to your needs. So I think all you can do is the best on the information that you know today, and you don't have to strictly follow the plan on a step by step in the exact box. You're going to get, business is all about opening doors, and things pivot and things change. No one can predict what their business is going to look like in a year from now. So you can follow the path broadly. It gives you direction and a way forward. But when things come, be prepared to move. I think it's a mindset rather than I must do this, I must do that to achieve that. Businesses need to be fluid and flexible and take advantage of opportunities. And this is where the best businesses thrive as things change. So have a plan, but be willing to change and revisit as much as you can. It's about having a plan and a goal. It's like anything in life. Have a goal, start working towards it, and the exact goal that you're aiming towards may look different when you get there. Maybe better.
And as I like to say, plan for the worst and hope for the best.
Absolutely.
Okay, so that's about it, guys. We're just going to wrap it up and do a quick summary. While we're doing that, if you have any questions, please just post them and we will start answering those. I'm just going to look at the little question bar at the moment. Okay, so sorry.
I was going to say, I might just jump in quickly on just unrelated to financial matters. If you're having struggling mentally as well, please reach out to your local and national bodies. And the other thing to look out for is scammers. I've heard some nasty stories going around, people contacting you to help with JobKeeper, help out with cash boost, loan sharks, classics. Please be very careful because people are in a vulnerable position at the moment, and get secondary advice. Again, reach out to your advisors or partners or trusted individuals.
Okay, so Taz, we're just going to address yours. Nice of you to watch. Hope you're doing well. You've posted markets will not come back strongly at first. No, they will not. And distancing requirements may reduce capacity. So how do I understand the balance of operating and possibly operating at a loss initially? Should I do this to get my brand back out there?
It's a great question and very practical, Taz. Thank you. Depends what type of business you're in. Of course, you want to comply with the distancing regulations and certainly do that, understand how that affects your business. I know everyone's keen to get operating as fast as they can. However, your point there about operating at a loss, it's a very valid question. I would really reconsider operating at a loss. I mean, you might as well keep the status quo as it is now at zero rather than losing money, and just wait a little bit longer. I know you may have fixed costs as well, but wait till it really picks up a bit more. Yes, there is brand recognition there and first mover. However, is it really going to increase the value of your brand by opening 2 weeks earlier before your competitors or a couple of other people? I think yes, I agree with loss leaders, but loss leaders are only good in a strong environment where you're going to make up that loss immediately somewhere else.
Can you just explain for everyone what a loss leader is, please, the definition?
Sorry, so a loss leader is, so in a tourism context, you have a special and your tourism product, we're giving away half price sale for this weekend only. And you're not going to make money on that, but you're going to get the customers in, you're going to get their details, you get their family to come along, and you end up selling 4, and one person's got their 2 for half. So you make the money up on the back, you lose on the one. So I suppose it's about, I agree with, it's a good question, but as long as you think that you're going to make up the money at a later date.
Thanks for stretching our brains, Taz. So basically for myself, it would be, I wouldn't be willing to lose money for an indefinite amount of time. And because we have no crystal ball here, I probably would sink a little bit of money into maintaining my brand through social media and marketing and online, because we don't know how long, if you start up, you're going to be losing money for. So, okay, Chrissy also posted, Kenny mentioned Mackay Tourism is offering some complimentary one-on-one mentoring sessions through Shift, which is an awesome program. So myself, Gus, we also have a strategy analyst and a HR specialist. If you're looking for any mentoring sessions, I think Mackay Tourism has got the funds for that. So reach out to Chrissy and see if she can help. She's also said that might be a great way to get started on your business plans or your financial plans is by using us as well. So any way that we can help out, please just reach out. As you can see, we're not that scary. Apparently. So if there's no other questions, thank you again, everyone who has taken the time out of your day to log in and see what we're chatting about today. Thank you again to Chrissy and Taz and everyone at Mackay Tourism. It really is a wonderful service that you're doing for all your members, and we very much appreciate it. Next week on the 12th, we are doing part 2 with Gus, and we're doing the higher end. So we're going to talk about strategy and analysing and looking a little bit higher level.
That's it. We're gonna dig in a little bit on the financials and strategy and really dig in a little bit on what this is going to look like afterwards, and how can we take the opportunity, not just survive now, but actually thrive on the other side of it. What do we do now to prepare ourselves How do we go about it? What's the best way to do it? And please bring your questions.
Yes, do indeed. Thank you again, everyone, and we'll see you next week.
See you, everybody.